myself every year on New Year's Eve, and that was a thought I went to sleep with. And if any part of my body said, "Bro, if I don't pop my summer, this is over with," I would have realized it's not my passion anymore. And I said that until, I remember the last time I kept saying it until I was like, I think this is working. Like, I think I'm having some success. So, it's definitely about persistence. You got to keep going, man.
You definitely gotta keep going. Yeah. I think sometimes some people do the same thing and they just don't get the spark, or the wind never blows in their back until it does, and then things blow up, and then they think that they found something different, but it just sometimes some components you can't control, and you can't know when they're gonna happen. The best thing you can do is prepare for when they do happen, right? Like on Twitch, you never know when somebody's gonna host you, right? What is the best thing you could do to capitalize off of being hosted by somebody else? So being given viewers, it's by being ready for it. And I always tell people, I hate to say this because it makes me feel like I'm being rude to people, right? 99% of creators that I could host are not ready for it, right? Because they don't put the time in at 0 viewers, doing their thing and being out there and just in cementing who they are and what do they do, right? And whenever people show up, they don't know what to do because they didn't build that layer of confidence in who they are, and they're not ready to present it to other people and big audiences, and they're just not ready, which really sucks. It really sucks because I learned most things that I know about this industry and this shit when I had 10 viewers, 50, 100, and I was speaking in French, another language. Like, I learned all the components that I needed at the very beginning, and I'm thankful for that. And I wish people understood that that's kind of how it works. And people always want to jump to success, and they want to jump to, oh, I want to have 50K viewers. I want to jump there, right? When they're not ready for it, But yeah, it kind of made me feel about the Aiden thing with the viewer drop, right? Like, these are concepts that you kind of sometimes learn when you're a smart streamer and you're ready to tackle on the problem when it shows up. You're equipped for the future, That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. It's an interesting process, man. Really interesting process. Like, I always tell people, it might not seem to people who just watch over time, but there is skills and ways to deal with things that you learn how to get better with. I always said, again, remember I was on this debate show. I watch that back now and I'm like, I feel like I'm more of a skilled orator. I'm more of a skilled debater. I'm better at broadcasting. I know how to handle being on set when, I never was on a set before, right?
Yeah, so that's hard.
As a creator, you start gaining communication skills and also how to handle a platform with time. Like, I know Kanye most famously said the 10,000 hours, but that's the theory. Like, you put in 10,000 hours into something, you need to put that in before mastering anything. And I agree. You gotta put those painstaking hours in of honing your skills and getting better. So I agree with that.
I want to go to just maybe almost a last thing. So I know about now where you started, how you got to where you're at, and then where you're at. I want to ask something about Cardi. You know what? Let's just jump into that right now. Chat's kind of asking about it a lot, and since it's like interactive, I want to kind of get into them because I don't know what they're talking about, and since I don't know, might as well just ask. People say, ask about Cardi. What does that mean? And if you know what that means, what is the answer?
Okay, so clearly he has an album coming up that they're asking most likely when he's gonna be dropping. Hey, listen, Cardi's my guy. You gotta wait for him to green light and let everybody know when it's gonna happen. Also, they're asking this because his last album, I made the announcement, and the announcement that I made, he included on the album as a introduction to one of the songs, a song called Control. So which was literally just a Twitch clip. So You know, I know. Listen, I remember the same sequence where everyone was just like Cardi, 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 and I remember like going back to like the people who work with him and everything, and me and Cardi we
Yeah.
communicate from time to time, and just saying, yo, what do you want me to tell these people? Like, yo, these fans like they have an undying love for him, and they just want more music, and it's coming. It's just on his own time. Like it's gonna happen. Like I can't tell you guys that I'm not either permitted or I don't know. I guess that's the best way to say it, right? But as soon as I can, I would. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because he's got to do the art for you to talk about it and say that. I mean, you can't cut the process. You're not gonna show up at the studio and be like, "Yo, Cardi,
Yeah,
let's fucking
and
get that out, man."
also like he's a very careful and calculated person. Like the timing, some people believe he takes too long, or he like, oh, you're late. No, he's dropping at the perfect time for him, and that's even part of the art. The wait is part of the art, and that might, I know there's some fans that might be like confused, and they're like, the wait is part of the art, right?
Yep.
If you were supposed to get this immediately when you felt you wanted it, you would appreciate it less. Just remember
True.
that the wait is part of the art, and that's as much I really can say.
Yeah, for sure. Also, sometimes I feel like the people don't know what they want, and they'll portray like, "Oh yeah, I want this." If you give it to them, and they're not really fulfilled. But
Yes.
sometimes the people that make it, right, they know what to give to the people and the when, and that people need to, I think they need to trust that, because sometimes people need to trust the artists and the producers that are doing this shit, that've done it for a long time. Because they
And
understand their own market and they know what they're doing.
one thing I like about Cardi is that when he drops, he is the leader of the orchestra. He's the concert leader. He doesn't. He could drop something that might be totally left field. That is the art, and you're gonna appreciate it because
Yep.
it might take some time. But once you see shit or hear shit through the lens that he's gonna create, you're gonna realize he's created a masterpiece. And I like artists like that. That they don't. Some artists I know create art to try to give the fans what they want. They're like, oh, the fans said they want this. Let me give them this. And then some
Yeah.
people say, here is the art. And that's the beauty of a real leader, right? Where you create without the you create the art, and then you think about how to make it palatable for it to be consumed. You don't only create the art that you think will be able to be consumed, and that's a big difference.
Yep. Because then you're working back. You're working way backwards. It's like then you're losing it, like what you want to do. I feel like, or what they want to do.
Facts.
Yeah, which sucks. And I'm actually kind of saddened that I would assume a lot of music labels, record labels, are pressuring people to release stuff that they don't even agree with themselves, and people feel like they're losing touch with who they are as an artist to give the people what they want. And I think that sucks, because I feel like I see that sometimes. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, so this is a story of a lot of artists. If you ever hear a lot of artists, 50 Cent once said this, and it's so true. He's like, yo, he said the reason why most artists' first albums are their best is because you have your whole life to make that album. And you get to draw from every experience, and you get to give this body of work that now people could enjoy. But after that, what the music business is that you go on tour. You have to go do meet and greets. You go here, you go there, you're all over the place. And in another year, you are required to turn in another album. You didn't get a chance to live. Say on your first album, you were rapping about the breakups you had, the moments of success you had. You got to live life to get that content to rap about and create art around. But now you're a hamster on a wheel, going from here to there, doing this, that, and third. And now you need to create an album that matches that album that when you had nothing to do and only had to live life, you have to create an album that could match all of that in content. And some people are imaginative enough to draw on other parts of their lives, but sometimes it's hard, and that's why certain artists get burnt out, or sometimes people just feel like the product is getting worse.
Okay, well then I mean, the insight you're giving me kind of makes me think now why so many SoundCloud rappers, a lot of them made it, and a lot of them fell off. People say they fell off, and I never agree with that. I will never agree with that take unless somebody proves me wrong. Where people say somebody fell off because somebody will go on SoundCloud and they'll release like 100 songs and it's all shit and then nobody listens to them and they work hard at it, bang bang, 100 songs, and on the 100th song, right, it's a massive hit and it goes crazy, and now everybody's looking. When's the next song coming? What? And then for them, it took them 100 songs to get to that one that's good. What makes you think that the 101th song, the next one, will also be a crazy hit? That's incredibly hard to reproduce and get there again. That's incredibly difficult. And people are overly critical about that, and they'll make them feel bad, like, oh man, they fell off. And I can't agree with that. Does that make sense or not?
Yeah, no, it's incredibly. I've always said rappers like running backs in the National Football League. If you look at the running backs in the National Football League of all positions, they have probably the shortest shelf life and peak life. Usually, sometimes most rappers they'll get on by one song and they'll make another song kind of similar to it, do a remix, do a couple features, and then they're enjoying a run. Usual rapper run is about like 3 years. It's just hard to like the culture of music changes so much. It's hard to stay at a stagnant position. I've always said fame is fleeting. People don't realize that. 5 years ago we were talking about some of these guys like the dude would be like got him or whatever the case is. Like they might not be as popular today as they were then. Like I was talking about Wealth and the Great if you didn't get the whatever, but
Yeah,
everything is fleeting, right? So
it is.
even your status as a Twitch streamer. And what I mean it's fleeting. It's never stagnant. It's never like, okay, every time you get on from here till eternity, you will get this amount of views and nothing else. And it could always go up and down. And because life is ever changing and most of the things that sometimes we covet is fleeting, you get to realize how special those moments are that you're at the top. And when you're
Yeah,
at the top, unfortunately, sometimes fans look at those moments and say, "Oh, it's easy to get there, or it's easy to remain there." But it's not. It's only a few people. Like for example, the reason why Drake is just such an enigma, he's been there for like 15 years, like just literally at the top, and he's found a way to do. But as easy as that he makes it look, he has to come out with a hit song all the time. If
all the time.
he has to create a verse that's like wowing us with 50 quotables all the time, and no one could keep that up. You know what I mean? Again, he's a unicorn.
It's definitely rare. It's why I always had a lot of respect for Drake, Kanye, stuff like that, because it's like they've not only proven that they could do it the same and have so much success every time over the years consistently, but also innovated in those times that people. I mean, you would be considered successful to just continue to thrive and just kind of maintain, but they get new heights and they keep innovating. And I think people underplay how rare that is. And to me, that's very impressive, definitely, especially when you don't know what they're dealing with and what they're doing. So it's like, yeah, I think that's pretty crazy, especially, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of
Yeah, I
have
don't
a
want to go too
rubric
personal
when
about
it comes to that. I have a rubric saying if you last like usually a run being considered hot, right? So when you're hot, if you're hot for 3 years, that's a career, right?
that. Yep.
If you're hot for 5 years, you're a legend. If you're hot
Yeah.
for 10 years, you're one of the goats, and it just shows how hard. Like in most in a regular job, you might be working 30 years, right?
Yep.
And that's just what it is. But when it comes to music, to be successful and in that quote unquote hot,